Hello chinchilla enthusiasts. My name is Shauna Powell and I am the owner of Royal Chinchillas. Today I was going to go over grooming a chinchilla and pre-show preparation. So thanks for joining and we'll get right on it. All right, these are your basic grooming tools that you'll use morning of show. You have scissors to trim the tail, just make sure they're sharp. I have a number 4 comb that you use for rough grooming. This is your first pass through the chinchilla. And then to finish off, a number 2, which is a fine tooth comb. They also make these smaller half combs in a fine tooth comb for the face so that you don't poke your chinchilla in the eye. And then this is a hacksaw blade. Don't worry, it's not sharp, it won't hurt your animals, but you want to get the absolute finest tooth that you can so that it's not sharp and won't hurt your animal. But what this does is pull all the loose fur off the top. And then lastly, we have the Scotch-Brite. You want to get the everyday clean. You don't want it to be the extra sticky because it can actually stick to your animal and cause fur slips, which is very bad for show day. And then lastly, you want to have a lap mat. The lap mat is really important because it keeps your chinchillas from biting you, obviously, if they get irritated with your grooming. And also it helps to make them feel more comfortable than trying to, balance on your legs and stuff. This is like a faux suede. It's got felt on the underside and it's a thick top. So everybody feels comfortable during grooming. This is my actual grooming station. I have a toolbox that has a bunch of random things that I use for grooming here and there. There's some tape in there for marking show cages. There's a bunch of extra combs. I have eye ointment if during travels an chinchilla has an unhappy eye. Sharpies, pins. This is for measuring fur length on Angoras. Different types of combs. I use a different type of comb that's a little less dull for my Angoras. I have ear tags. There's a bag of dust in there, so if there's a wet spot on your chinchilla from travels, you can just rub some dust on there and let it dry out a little bit and then comb it out. You want to make sure that everything is easily accessible. I use a side table. There's my lap mat, and you definitely want to have a garbage. I also have a grading booth in my trailer that I use when I travel, so that when I'm done grooming, I can look at the animal under the lights, see if there's any imperfections that need fixed, and that's it. So this is a standard setup for grooming. You want to make sure you have your lap mat here and your chinchillas firmly on your lap. Hold the base of his tail, the base, you don't want to hold the tip, snugly so that he can't escape. And I know, and he's going to complain sometimes like a little 3-year-old getting their hair brushed. So this is the standard equipment I use. I have as described earlier, I have a rough grooming comb, a fine tooth comb, a face comb, hacksaw blade, very fine hacksaw blade, a lint roller, and scissors. So the first thing that you want to do is trim the tail. You want to trim the tail first because you're going to get lots of little pieces coming off and you don't want it on the animal after you've groomed them. All you're trying to do when you trim the tail is just trim the tips off, just in case there's any yellowing. This animal is very clear and he has nice white tips, but we're going to trim it anyway. The reason for doing this is you don't want him holding his tail up like this, and if he has any yellowing on the tail, it'll reflect onto his back and make him look casty. So we're going to just trim that, and you can give a nice clean cut on the end. Make sure you're holding the tendon so that you don't get anywhere near the tendon in his tail. And then we can kind of just lightly brush that off. So again, I'm just going to do the right half of the chinchilla so that you can see at the end the difference between the groomed and the non-groomed side. So I'm going to start with the rough groom comb, and I'm going to start around his neck, holding him firmly, and just pull up. Just want to fluff the fur. I know, buddy. You're just removing any fine lines from priming, and then holding this part, the non-sharp part of the comb, against his eye, because you don't want to poke his eye. You want to pull back on his face, getting the neck, the white part of the neck high, buddy, like that, till it's nice and smooth. Then you can go to the back. So normally I would do the whole back first if I wasn't just going to do one side, and then I do the sides, and then I finish up with the face. But because we're only doing one side, I am going to start with the back here. So you can start right at the base of the tail. I know. And you're just lightly, never push really hard, just lightly pulling out all the dead fur that's in, kind of tucked in there with the good new fur that's growing out. I know, he's not happy. Most of the time your chinchillas will not be happy, but just like 3-year-olds aren't happy with having their hair brushed, we have to make them look beautiful because the shows are a beauty contest. So the nicer your animal is and the better you prepare it, the more competitive that you'll be at the show. This is also just good to know if your chinchilla is starting to get knots. If you're just a pet person, you can still comb out your chinchilla to make sure that their fur stays healthy and they can get the dust down in to their fur. So now that we've got the back combed, we're gonna start at the hind leg and we're just gonna pull up. I don't ever brush this way because when you're gonna compete at show, the hips are always one of the hardest parts to keep that strength in. And if you overcomb, the hips are not forgiving. If you overcomb the hips will look soft and you won't be as competitive on the table. So you don't want to pull out any new fur. You're only wanting to pull out the dead fur. So you can see the little bits of dead fur coming out, which is great. If you start getting too much fur on your comb, you need to wipe it off. Make sure you have a garbage can close by. Come here, buddy. And you can see as you're pulling this up, his fur is starting to bounce. That's what we really want to see. And you want to start at the white where the veiling stops at his belly. And just pull up all the way. Keep pulling up until it's nice and smooth. He's not having it. Come here. Okay. Calm down. Sometimes you just gotta take a minute and make sure they calm down a little bit. There we go. Good boy. Again, everything you do is smooth, short strokes. You're just pulling the dead fur out. You want the comb to run nice and smooth through it, and you don't want to go too deep because these are very sharp and they will poke your chinchilla. Hey, buddy. I know. Come here. Sometimes they'll throw a hissy fit and I'll let them just sit the way they want to sit. See, when you start to get resistance, don't pull hard, just pull gently. And if you have too much resistance, just let the comb go and keep working on it. It's easy to want to brush through really hard, and when you do that, you're pulling out new live fur with the dead fur, and you'll lose some of the density of your animal because you've pulled out so much fur. So when you start seeing it spring back, you know you're getting close. And there's no lines in here now that I see. Everything looks good. Now again, now that I've combed up the sides, I'm going to do the face again, just to make sure that everything's nice and smooth. I know, I'm sorry. Again, pull up from the neck. This part right here at the neck, many times will have lines. You want to get those lines out as much as possible. Sometimes they aren't wanting you to, so it doesn't have to be perfect. So that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy. So you see there's so much dead fur here now. We're going to remove that in a minute. We're not going to worry. We're not going to worry about it. As long as the comb is going through nice and easily like that, we're going to deal with this fur in a different way. You don't want to overcomb, because if you overcomb, again, you're pulling too much new fur out of your animal. Then you're going to pull back on the ear, if he'll calm down, to just kind of, okay, we'll do it this way. Kind of just fluff that up, fluff up the face. we're just pulling this back, getting any lines out here very gently. Okay. Now that we've pulled everything up, we're going to do one more pass across the back, just to lift any fur. You want it to go nice. See how it goes nice and smooth. We pulled out a little bit of fur. If you hit resistance, you just back off. Keep going. Make sure you keep your comb clean. And this is pretty good. So now you want to remove all this dead fur from the top, and that's where your hacksaw blade comes in. One more thing before we move on to the hacksaw blade. People will tell you to never back comb. That's not always necessarily true. If I have an animal that is really, really rough, I will back comb over there, especially if they have a big roach on top, they have a big neck, I will back comb. So it's okay. It's okay to back comb like this, if he'll let me. I know. I kind of wanted to get a rowdy animal so that I could show you guys that it's possible to do it. You just have to be patient. I know. They will protest, and he's protesting. So it's okay to back comb, especially if you have a big roach in here, because there'll be like a lot of dead fur stuck in here, and you want to pull that out so the animal has a nice flow of fur across the top. And if you do end up back combing, it's really important to go back and really quickly pick up your sides again. You want that to really poof out. And then, again, go back over the top, just smoothing things. Okay, now, hacksaw blade. I always go from head to toe at first. So I come behind the ear, and I just gently pull it back. And you can see all the dead fur that it's pulling. It's not pulling the live fur, just gently pulling all of that dead fur that's still left behind out. I know, I'm sorry. So you just go across the back from head to tail. And now you pull up the sides. So you're going in the reverse order that you did when you combed. Whoops, sorry buddy. That was my fault. See all that dead fur coming out, leaving behind bouncy, beautiful fur. All right. Trust me, you're gonna look so beautiful. It's all gonna be worth it. Make sure you don't touch the animal too much because you have oils on your hands, and it will also disrupt the fur. So we're just gonna pull all that dead fur out. Fine, come back here. When you're moving him around, move him around by his belly. So now we're gonna go from tail to head and push the rest of that off, and you can kind of just keep sweeping up and then forward. Don't push too hard, you want it to bounce. And we're gonna just, until you don't have a lot of dead fur. Once you get just a little bit of dead fur left, then you're gonna finish off with the lint roller. Sometimes you just gotta go where he wants to go and keep doing what you're doing. And then you can bring him back to center. We're gonna come back here. This is where that lap mat comes into play, because he's already tried to bite me. I don't know how many times, because he wants me to stop. And we're gonna stop in a minute because we're almost done. Oh, I know, thank you. Come back over here. All right, so we're just about there. We're almost done. We're almost done, I promise. So now you're gonna use the lint roller. You have to be super careful with the lint roller, because if you don't have the seam pushed down really good, this becomes your worst enemy, because what will happen is when you go to roll through the animal, it will stick in there and you will end up with a huge fur slip. So patience, just take your time, make sure everything's pushed down, and then just lightly roll it across the top. And you can see how much fur is just being pulled off. And then you can also see on the top of the animal how shiny and perfect he looks. I know. Come back here. I know. So you want to keep this clean. So I'll many times use 3 or 4 sheets of the lint roller. make sure you push it down really good. Just very lightly, it will just start pulling the fur off. Same thing, back to front. Pull up the sides. It's always the same pattern. Back to front and pull up the sides. Bring the animal back because he's running away. I know, calm down, we're almost done. Hey, we're almost done. Just gotta be patient. This isn't their favorite thing in the world. Some of them are like lap puppies, and they will literally sit there and love it when you comb them. He's not so much. Okay, we're just about there. When you look across the top of the animal, you don't want to see any dead fur. And I'm pretty happy with this, how he's looking right now. So, there you have it. I'll go and show you what he looks like in the show box. And that's grooming. So here's our animal after being groomed. The side you're looking at is the side we groomed. It's nice and smooth. Around his neck, there's no lines. If you look on this, okay, yep, looks nice and smooth. Everything flows nicely. His fur is bouncing back nicely. If you look on his other side, you can see he has lines in his neck. There's a lot of dead fur on that side. See how rough he looks on this side? That's what we removed when we were grooming him. Yes, I know. So that's it for grooming. The next grooming demonstration we'll have will be on an Angora. Quite a bit different to groom an Angora than a short-haired chinchilla. So I hope that you stay tuned for our next grooming demonstration. And Royal Chinchillas, thanks you for listening. Bye now.